Hi, Matt here at Firecrest Farms. I want to do an update on my growing medium. I'm using a lot less soil, or basically no soil now. This is all based off of Gary from Laguna Niguel Nursery. Basically though, plants do not like to grow in dead plants, so we're trying to use less and less soil. I'm definitely not composting anymore. Being that it is in growing season, or spring, early summer, I will add a little chicken manure. I'm definitely putting that on top of all my plants. I don't think I used enough of this in the past, and maybe that's one of the reasons I still haven't had fruit. But I'm going to add a little to my soil because it's spring. Otherwise, I wouldn't be adding this as part of my mixture. So one thing I'm using more and more of these days is all-purpose sand. This is not playground sand. It's much more rough. The playground sand is soft. The rough stuff will hold water better. I have my biochar. And this stuff actually has mycorrhizal fungi in it too. Mycorrhizal fungi in it as well. Basically, it's burned trees. And whenever there's a fire, it creates new life. And this has mycorrhizal fungi, which will take off inside the soil as well. Earthworm castings. This also is basically mycorrhizal fungi and all kinds of other awesome stuff. But it's earthworm poop, and it's really, really good for the plants. Pumice, we use a lot of pumice. And perlite, the pumice is heavy. I like it better than the perlite, but the pumice doesn't hold water, the perlite does, but the perlite does not hold as much water as the vermiculite, which I don't use at all. And then I'll add a little chicken manure, and I'll mix that all up, and I'll come back and update later. All right, I went ahead and mixed up my soil. Here's a closer look. It's not going to rot, it's going to stay the same size. So I'm going to add some earthworm castings. Not a ton, because I'm mainly just going to add them on the top of the rest of the soil plant. I'll show that next video. Maybe a little more, because earthworm castings are super rad. Then, just because it's spring, I normally won't do this, I'm going to add a little chicken manure. How about 1, 2, 3. Mix that up.
It already smells.
All right. So, a couple other real quick things. It's super important that you focus your plants. So these shouldn't be here. These should be growing up on top. I should have cut them off a long time ago, but I didn't. So I waited now to let them get hard. Otherwise, they're not going to survive. There's an airplane. So I'm just going to trim both of them off. And make sure I use my marker and properly label them. Then mark the base. And you're good to go. Let that dry off for a couple days. You can even cut some off the cambium. But then it's going to focus its growth up and umbrella out once it gets about this tall. Same thing with this great red. Here's a smaller version of it. So these ones are still soft. So if I cut them off now, they will die on their own. But I will graft them. So I'll keep it alive. I'm going to clean this, make sure my tool is nice and clean, since Great Red is a fancy one. Oh, let's think here. I don't want to cut off the biggest one, that's going to have the biggest growth, but again, that one's kind of weird. See the growth on it. So I'm going to cut that one, and this one. Then, one more thing. This guy. This is my chimera. It's a fancy plant. It's a hybrid of 2 different colors. That's why it's looking like that. So I'm going to cut this one more time. And here is where I have questions, and I'd love feedback. I normally would cut this lower branch off and focus the growth up on the top. But this one is actually growing straight, which never happens, besides maybe this little one right here. So I'm tempted to see if this one's going to grow and leave it and end up cutting the rest of this off later. But for today, I'm just going to cut off this weird one. So that means this one or this one will stay alive. And see the red in there. So this, even though it looks really cool, it's just a fancy pain in the butt collector's plant. Not like supposedly the Great Red, which is really, really good. Yeah, the Sugar Dragon and Robles Red, the other ones I'm focusing on. fertilizer, kelp fertilizer in the water, and then this is a new one. My friend Manny, aquaponics master, taught me, and this is bamboo vinegar, and this is basically liquid smoke, and you put that in the water, or you could spray it on, and it stinks like smoke. Ooh, last thing, Liam. Steak.
What?
And here's my steak. You're filming still?
Yes.
Thank you. This snapped, so I need to tie it up. Where is my tie? Can't find the tie, but I'm gonna use my bamboo stake and tie this up right here. Focus its growth up, and even though it snapped, it's still alive. A lot of them will hang down like that at the top of the trellis, but it should have been properly staked up. So make sure you get your bamboo stakes and your green tape. Happy gardening.